All right, so we're going holding by Pirke Avos, ethics of our fathers. As as it is known, again, when we're going holding by Pirke Avos, ethics of our fathers. We are in chapter 2, Mr. 15, part 18, and there'll definitely be a part 19, part 20, etc. So we're finishing up what Rabbi Lezer said. He said three things. One is let your fellow's honor be as dear to you as your own, right? And that we spoke about. And do not anger easily, right? So that's where we're holding. And I thought we'd actually finish it last week. We didn't quite finish it. So we'll mention again that that says my Rebbe, Rav Goner Mishna Machlitis should be well. In his commentary on Pirke Avos, he says, and I think this is where we got to, we didn't quite get past this, and that is that sometimes the attributes of the fear of justice obligate the person to be angry and place fear in someone, like by making sure there are no breaches and keeping of Torah. There are people people don't do the right thing, or they're trying to make breaches in Torah, trying to change Torah, let's say. It's obligation. Then there's obligation to, try and stop it. Protest, right? We spoke about protesting, spoken about that a number of times. But, in such a case, and this we spoke about, that's how we got on to all that about raising kids and about teaching kids, in general, right? And that is that if you have to get angry, you have to, as the Rambam says, you got to show anger without being angry, right? You should never discipline while you're angry. That we spoke about. That we spoke about as well. And when there are breaches, when people try and change the Torah, you got to try and stop, even if people aren't going to listen, right? So we mentioned before, the Torah says, Leviticus chapter 19, we'll get there one day, right? I don't know when, we'll get there one day. And that is, it says, you have an obligation, a Jew has an obligation to rebuke their fellow Jew. But you still, even when you do it, when you do rebuke, you should not bear a sin. Now, what does that mean, bear a sin? So we said before, it means you don't bear a sin, you don't embarrass them, right? We spoke about embarrassing people, even if you have to rebuke them. The Gemara in Erechim says that even if a person would rebuke someone and they're going to hit you, they're going to come and want to slug you, right? So what? That's how far the obligation goes, because excuse people some people will make and say they're not going to listen anyway, right? So in some cases, even if that's true, guess what? Doesn't matter, right? We don't care if people are going to listen or not. I still have an obligation to rebuke, right? In other cases, you tell me, but they'll hate Torah more, right? You get a dialogue with them. You tell them what they do is wrong. They'll start blaspheming and hate Torah more. So I said before, even if you have a discussion, with a secular Jew, and you start, you tell them, you got to keep kosher, you got to keep Shabbos, and they start blaspheming against God, against Torah. That's not my problem. That is not my issue. Why is that not my issue? Because you tell me you're going to transgress Torah prohibition of mixture. You're not allowed to put a stumbling block in front of anybody, which is true. This case doesn't apply, right? This case will not apply, right? In other words, that's not called putting a stumbling block in front of someone. Why not? And no matter what they say, it's irrelevant what they may say or not. You're going to say, Torah's anti-pig, Torah's anti-non-Jews, Torah's anti, pushing away the mother bird and taking the eggs, right? Torah's anti, animals. And we're cruel to animals, we're cruel to everything or whatever. Do I have to worry? Do I have to worry? A Jew's going to make those claims? Doesn't matter. That's not called putting stumbling block. Right? That you're sticking up for Torah. They say whatever they say, not my issue. It's not my issue. Right? In general. Now, based on that, so that we spoke about quite a bit last week. So now Rebbe says, okay, even though you might have to stand up for Torah, you might have to try and place fear of God into people. Why? So they don't make these breaches. Even under these circumstances, what does the Mishnah say? The Mishnah says, don't get angry easily. Don't let this anger get to you. Right? So it says, what does that mean? The person shouldn't get easily angry. Why? Because you don't want the inside of you just waiting to burst out. Meaning that I would say it's worse. You hold it in. Then what happens? At some point you explode. Right? Obviously that's not going to be good. Right? Some people would say, well, isn't it better to get it out? You'll feel much better after you say it, after you explode, maybe. I mean, psychologists probably tell you they got to get it out. Right? Even so, sometimes better not say anything. Okay. But in a case where I'm obligated to say it, I still have to watch out over here. I still have to be careful not to get angry easily. You're going to say, or someone will say, but people can say terrible things. People can say things that are against God. People can say things, blaspheme. Blaspheme gets us angry. Could easily get us angry. They trample on everything you hold sacred. True. He's telling you, even under those circumstances, you shouldn't get angry easily. Because the problem is, if you're just waiting to burst, and then all of a sudden you just let them have it, one thing, another thing, 10 different things you hammer them with, might be totally justified. Very good. Might be totally justified. At the same time, you don't want it necessarily to affect you. But it's catch-22. Right? What's the catch-22? Catch-22 is you're going to get angry. You're going to stick up for God. And what do we do a lot of the times? What do? We take it to heart. 100% we take it to heart. In other words, we're sticking up for God and we're getting slaughtered. People saying this, people saying that, right? People saying other things, makes us feel bad. Makes us feel bad for what we're doing. But we probably feel that it's making God feel bad. We're trying to stick up for Him. We're trying to stick up for the Torah. What do? They sit there and they trample on it. And they make fun of it. And they scoff at it. So I would say, not everything has to be answered. Who says I got an obligation to answer them? Now, we're talking about rebuke. Right? Answer is another thing we've spoken about. Here we're talking about rebuke. That in this case, let's say, you got an obligation here. Now, even though you got an obligation to rebuke, what's going to happen? What would people say is going to happen? When, you're all fired up because these people are trampling on Torah, trampling on mitzvahs, and, you hold it very dear to you, very close to you. They don't care what you have to say. They just, it's like people talking at each other, not to each other. So you get aggravated, right? You get aggravated because, anyone sees what's going on in the world. You got people making statements. They don't have a clue what they're talking about. Not one clue what they're talking about. Not only that, their people don't care. They don't care what the truth is. They'll say what they want. They'll make fun. They'll say, we're guilty of genocide, and we're guilty of this, and we're guilty of that. Painful. It's definitely painful. Yeah. But these people don't know anything. They don't know anything. They don't know the facts. So we got to try best of our ability to get the facts out. Yeah, we should. Yeah, maybe it's like talking to the wall, but, got to try and get the facts out there. So the problem is you have this inside of you. And, you've been working hard trying to keep Torah mitzvahs. You're working very hard. And then someone makes a statement, or a bunch of people make a statement. You say, really? Right? It's ludicrous. Yeah, we need to, we need to do all kinds of things, to make the Torah easier. Got to make it easier for people to convert, right? We got to leave our minds open till our brains fall on the floor. A lot of things we got to do, right? A lot of things we got to do over here. Isn't this annoying? You get annoyed? It's annoying. I would agree, right? I would agree 100%, right? Most people know, one of my pet peeves is I can't stand, people lie. A, people distort the truth. B, people who distort the truth. I understand where they're coming from. You try and show them information, they don't want to hear the information. Okay, so what are you supposed to do? They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. But they're giving over the same garbage everyone else is. Without looking at the facts. Nobody cares about the facts. So the issue over here is, what I say to catch-22, the issue is you're trying to make sure they're not making breaches and keeping Torah mitzvahs. They're not, in other words, people are trying to change Torah, right? When we say changing Torah doesn't work, doesn't help, right? Totally doesn't help. Intermarriage is still on the rise, right? Intermarriage 60%, 70%, 80% in some places. So the more you change the Torah, it doesn't stop that. Does not stop that. I would agree in theory. If people can say, well, you change this, you change that, it's going to bring more people to Torah mitzvahs. Let's see. I'd be open for a discussion. Very short discussion. I'd be open for a discussion. Let's see. Let's see if that's really true. And it's not true. Right? It's definitely not true. So people say the same things. You get nowhere. So the catch-22 is, you want to try and make sure no breaches of keeping Torah mitzvahs. These people keep trampling on Torah mitzvahs. What does that do? Get you angry. Get you angry. So here my Rebbe says, even if it's true, it's going to get you angry because they don't know anything. You're trying to get through to them. They're not listening. They're not interested in listening. Nonetheless, you still shouldn't get easily, you shouldn't get angry easily. Still shouldn't do that. Even though you want to, take a Louisville Slugger for all you Americans, take a baseball bat, or, anyone, other parts of the world, take a wicket. You want to take a wicket, hit them over the head. Try and get to them. Right? Obviously, you're not going to do that. Right? But the point is, it makes us angry. It does make us angry. It's one thing you keep saying the same thing over and over again. You don't look at the facts. You don't look into what the facts are. Isn't that annoying? It's annoying. And people say, oh, you're backwards and, you're fanatical and you're this and you're that. Okay, so let them say whatever they want. They're not looking at the facts. They don't hear the facts. No one's interested in the facts. Yeah. The Rebbe's saying, even under those circumstances, where your blood is boiling, you want to take a wicket, hit them upside the head. Can't do that. Right? For a lot of reasons. But what does it do? It makes you want to burst out. Makes you want to scream out. Because it's annoying. There's nothing more annoying when people do not want to look at the information. And that's probably most people. They just want to say the same thing. They just want to say the thing over and over again, even if they don't know what it means. It doesn't matter. You can bring all the evidence. We're not committing genocide. We're doing the best we can not to kill civilians. They're using human shields, this and that. You can bring all that evidence. People don't want to see it. You're making it up. These are all forged pictures. Not really real. It's like Holocaust denial. That's what it is. You got some people saying, no, I never saw that. That never happened. They're making it up. It's propaganda. Okay? Yeah. What do you do with such a person? You change them? Not interested. So we always say, someone's not interested to change. It's a waste of time. You're right. It's a waste of time. But there are times people making breaches, you got to say something. Right? And we're passionate. Some people more, some people less, but we're passionate about what we believe and what we do. And, then there are people say, oh, come on, you really think the Torah means that? You really think that, we should listen to the rabbis? How many times have I seen this? I'm only going to listen to God. Very good. Let's see how God, let's see God talks to you. Who's God talking to in this generation? Right? The Talmud brings this down. Who's God talking to? Imbeciles and little children. That's who he's talking to. Direct. We don't have direct contact. Right? There's no prophecy today. There are some people, divine inspiration. Right? The lowest, it's form of prophecy, one of the lowest forms of prophecy. But God ain't speaking to us. He's not speaking to us because prophecy means, even if people are going to say, God answers my prayers, okay. Right? I don't have an issue with that. You want to say God's speaking to you? That's a different issue. Because if God speaks to a person, even through an intermediary, it doesn't matter. Right? Through a vision, through an angel, whatever it's going to be, that person knows 100% God speaking to them. No doubts. There are no doubts. Now, a person can say, I felt it. I don't know what you felt, but that's not what it is. This is what's brought down. I'm only telling you what's brought down. Right? A person's going to know they have prophecy when God speaks to them direct, through intermediary, whatever. Right? But they're going to know it's direct prophecy. They're going to know. What they feel, I can't say. People feel a lot of things. And what they feel doesn't have any realm of reality. They want to think it's that. Right? I'll give an example. By Rosh Be'er Soloveitch was a grandson of Rav Chaim Briscoe and Torah Giants, the last generation in America. Right? So someone, I think it was with him, pretty sure it was with him, a woman, let's say better, a woman wanted to wear a tallis. Right? She wanted to wear a prayer shawl. So what did he do? He said, okay, gave her a prayer shawl. And he gives her a prayer shawl to wear. And she comes back. A few weeks later. She says, Rabbi, you don't understand. That prayer shawl you gave me, wow, it's real power. I really felt something behind it and all this. I felt spirituality behind it. So he said, I have no idea what you're talking about. He said, no, you gave me this prayer shawl. I wear this prayer shawl now. When I pray and the spirituality I feel, he says again, no offense, I have no idea what you're talking about. I gave you this prayer shawl. You're right. I gave you this prayer shawl and I parceled it. I made it not a prayer shawl. How did I make it not a prayer shawl? I took off a sentence which renders it that, you can't wear it. Yeah, they have to cut off a whole sentence, just cut off, part of the sentence at a certain point. And then you can't wear it. Then it becomes invalid, right? That's what he said. He made it invalid. Made it invalid as a prayer shawl. So he said, okay, you wore something that's like a towel with fringes. Okay. You didn't wear a prayer shawl. That does not have the status of a prayer shawl. Why not? Because you got to cut off part of the sentences. And when you cut off part of the sentences in different places, it invalidates it. So he said there's no mitzvah for this tallis. It's not even a tallis. A tallis has to be kosher. The strings have to be tied in a certain way. If they're untied or they break off in a certain way, you can't wear it. That's it. Becomes invalid. Now, this woman claims, and probably she'll still claim to this day, she's still alive, they'll still claim the same thing, but I felt it. I felt the power of the spirituality. Problem is, she didn't do the mitzvah. She didn't do the mitzvah of wearing a tallis. Now, someone will ask me the $1 million, $2 million, $5 million question. What's the question? How in the world can you feel something if you didn't do the mitzvah? You're not getting the feeling from the mitzvah. You think you are. You think that's the power of the mitzvah. So, okay. So let's say we do an experiment, and certain people are given certain medicine for whatever they have. And certain people are given a placebo. Sugar cube, whatever, and a pill. Doesn't do anything. Yeah. But some people take the placebo and say, yeah, they felt better. Their symptoms went away. Different things, but they're taking like a sugar cube. Sugar cube and a pill. Now, so if a person's sick, let's say, whatever they have, how is this sugar cube in a pill form going to help? So you're going to say, but the mind's a powerful thing. Maybe the mind convinced the body and then the body healed. I don't know. The mind's a powerful thing. You can't will everything. Can't will being healthy. A person got a serious disease, right? Attitude does help. There's no question. It's been proven scientifically. Attitude helps. For sure helps. Are you going to overcome it 100% with attitude? Maybe for a certain amount of time. At the end of the day, a person can still die. A person could definitely still die from it, right? But it has been proven scientifically. That helps. Okay. This placebo, it's in their mind. Can the mind overcome what the body goes through? So, okay, that we can have a discussion. As most GPs, general practitioners, not into, other types of healing or whatever. They'll say a placebo should never happen. In general, you're taking a sugar pill. You have a major liver problem. How's it going to help the liver? Let's say. Yeah. But let's say they see over time the liver's getting better. Okay. That means from that pill it got better. So what happened over here? So I don't have an answer. Science won't have an answer. Because they'll tell you it went away, or, it went into remission, whatever it is, by itself. It didn't go into remission by taking a sugar cube in general. So you don't have a rational explanation. There's no rational explanation. So the same thing. The person feels something spiritual, they think something's going on, and the reality is it could be nothing. It's what they feel. Doesn't mean what they feel is right. This gets in the whole can of worms. Because people will say, but I prayed and God answered my prayer. And there's not saying God can't answer a person's prayers. Usually we don't see it direct. Right? In other words, a person prays for something, first time, boom, God takes care of it. Maybe sometimes it happens. I think a lot of times, person prays, you don't see salvation, or the salvation comes from a place you never expected it. That's a different issue. Different issue we've spoken about. But in this case, again, practically speaking, somebody wears a talus, doesn't matter, man or a woman, and that talus, that prayer shawl is invalid. If it's invalid, it means it has no spiritual composition here. It's not a talus. Person has a mezuzah, one letter is crooked, out of place where it invalidates. Did you get the same protection from that mezuzah? No. Why not? It's invalid. So if something's invalid, you didn't do the mitzvah right. If you didn't, or you didn't do the mitzvah at all. So if you didn't do the mitzvah, where's the divine protection? Where is the benefit over here from that mitzvah? Let's say. And usually the benefit's going to be in the next world, not this world. There are times, yeah. A man will wear a talus or wear tefillin, maybe it's all charged up, this and that. Okay. Happens every so often, maybe. But at the end of the day, okay. What would happen? And then this is a good example. It's the same thing. What would happen if that film was invalid? They find out that the film's invalid. So what they feel? So a person could take me to task and say they felt something. They felt the magic of the tefillin, right? Or the prayer shawl. They felt something. I beg to differ. I don't know what they felt. They didn't feel the power of the mitzvah. How did they not feel the power of the mitzvah? Because they didn't do the mitzvah. That mitzvah is invalid. Right? The mitzvah is invalid. You didn't do it right. What did you feel? Okay, so I can't answer. I don't know what you felt. Person might, I don't know. Maybe they felt this tingling sensation. I don't know. Maybe they felt something very good. So what? What does it have to do with Judaism here? In other words, the power of the mitzvah you won't feel if you didn't do the mitzvah. And if you did the mitzvah, you don't necessarily feel it. Some people do, some people don't, some more, some less. That's not the point. The point is you didn't do it. If you didn't do the mitzvah, what did you feel? I don't know. I don't know what you feel. It's not the power of the mitzvah. Right? So, I'm sure this woman was totally deflated. She's thinking, the power of this mitzvah, this and that. This is no, it's not the power of the mitzvah, it's the power of your mind. It's the power of what you think you feel. Again, which opens up a whole nother can of worms here. And that is, how do we know what we feel is legit? Is genuine? People feel the closest to JC. People feel what it's like to speak in tongue. I have no idea what that means. Right? I've asked people that, asked somebody about that one. So, Rabbi, that was a long time ago. I'm not going there. I said, I won't tell anyone. I just want to know, what that experience is like. Just tell me, what the experience is like. But if it's all a false thing based on a false premise, the whole thing is a bunch of malarkey, as I would say. What do they feel? Maybe they feel this, they feel... So we believe the whole thing is false. And I prayed to JC and answered my prayer. I don't think JC's answered much of anything today. At least from our sources. He ain't answering nothing. Yeah. He's suffering forever. So what's he doing? So what? So a person got their prayers answered. They think, okay, I took these beats and I went like this. Or I bowed down on the floor and I did this. And I fasted for 2 days and who knows what? I ran around the snow when it's 25 below zero in a tank top and shorts. And JC heard my prayers. Person, we mentioned this many times. If a person wants to be misled, they'll be misled. We have free will. Person wants to think, JC's coming back, and he's going to do this, he's going to do that, and he answers my prayers. Okay, let him think it. Other people think I'm worshiping cows. It's also good. It's also going to help me in life and blah, blah, blah. Okay. You got these fanatical Muslims. They're going to kill Jews. They're going to think they get 70 virgins next life. Good luck. So we believe it's all false. And this is not the place or the forum to say why we believe what we do is right. Right? I did a bunch of videos on Tanakh Talk, controversial issues. Why we believe Judaism is true and everything else is false. Everyone will claim they have the truth. But if we really believe, and let's just say, for argument's sake, the Torah is true, right? We're going to take that as a premise. We'll take that as a given. So the Torah is true, everything's false. Right? So if everything else is false, and people are making all kinds of claims, okay? So they make claims. Does that mean it has any realm in reality? We don't think so. It's a false religion. But they'll say in the name of JC and this and that, look what happened. So what? Let them say what they want. We believe it's a false religion. We believe it's totally not true. We believe they are over Torah prohibition of idolatry. Right? Even Islam, which is closer, in some ways to no idol, they believe in one God. Very good. Right? Some will say through idolatry. We don't hold that way. But let's say, right, they believe in one God. Very good. We'll grant them that. Okay. At the end of the day, they go against the prophecy of Moses. You can never go against the prophecy of Moses. That means a made-up religion. And not to mention the fact there are inconsistencies. And there are mistakes. Number of mistakes there. But it doesn't matter. We're not able to disprove it. That's not the point. The point is we hold the made up religion. If it's made up, if it's a made up religion, you go against the prophecy of Moses, you're out. You're totally out. Good. Right? So based on that, they're gonna say, yeah, bow down to Allah, and Allah answered. Could this just like build them up and say, well, God's gonna build them up into a false religion? Yeah. Do they have free choice even if that happens? Do they have free choice to come out of it? Yes. They have free choice. They choose to use it one way, not the other way. Okay. Are they in trouble? Yeah. Even if they believe in one God, they're in trouble. They're going to be in serious trouble. So, the answer is they can say, yeah, I prayed to Allah. I prayed to JC. Very good. They answered my prayers. Now, the Muslims aren't necessarily such a question because they believe in the same God. Okay. They believe in one God. Fine. Still a false religion. Still a totally false religion. Can't God give somebody what they want even if it's not good for them, even if they're going to go down a path that's wrong? Yeah. Now, why would he do that? I put my spin on it. He could do it because he wants to wipe them out in the next world. Doesn't want to give them a portion of the world to come. But he's got to reward them for what they've done in this world. Okay. But at the same time, what could he do? He can say, listen, I'm going to give you an opportunity to see the truth. I'm going to give you an opportunity to put it right in front of your face to see the truth. You want to see the truth? Okay. You don't want to see the truth? People can make mistakes. Rashi says, by Sodom, God says, let us go down and see what's going on in Sodom. Who's we? The English we? Maybe it's English we. Right? Right? Who's the we? Says Rashi's talking to the heavenly court. Why is he talking to the heavenly court? He needs the heavenly court to decide what's going on in Sodom. He knows what's going on in Sodom. So Rashi says, right, that's his what do you call it? That is his humility. He doesn't need the heavenly court. It's humility. Okay. Now, Rashi says, but a person can make a mistake and say, oh, see, it says, let us go down. So it must be more than one God. Could a person make that mistake? Yes. Does God want you to make that mistake? No. Does he give you the opportunity to have free will to go down the wrong path? Yes. So we always say, the Gemara says, the person wants to go in the right direction, God will help you. You want to go in the wrong direction, he will not stop you. That's what he does. You want to see the truth, you see the truth. If you want the truth, he'll help you. You don't want it, it's your choice. Right? Totally your choice. Totally your choice. No one, nobody today is being forced to do anything. Even though my Rebbe would say, still got to be careful. Maybe God's taking away our free will because we're too steeped in our own desires and different things. Could be. But even without that. Even without that. Right? No one's putting a gun to our head to do anything. So we have a choice. I can do this, I can do that. I can do the right thing, I can do the wrong thing. Now, how a person's going to decide what they're going to do could be based on a lot of different factors. Right? And that's not even the point here. The point is we make our own decisions. I mean, free will is limited. We don't have a free line here on free will. Meaning, we're put in certain situations to be tested, not by our choice. Some things we make our own choice. And then there are different ramifications. Yeah. So free will, yeah, we do have to a point. To a point. And the reason is because a lot of things we're not in control of. Many things we're not in control of. So if there are many things we're not in control of, then it doesn't necessarily mean we have free will, right? So whatever, it's complicated. It's complicated. But the idea is we make choices. Right? We absolutely make choices. And there are repercussions for those choices. Yeah. We make the bed you lie in. right? Or you make the bed you lie in. There are repercussions for whatever decision we make, for good or for bad. So a person has to realize, right? Murphy says there's a bunch of questions. He'll take them in a second, right? And that is, there are people that can say things, and they can be hurtful things. Let's say against Torah, against God. So what do we want to do? We want to burst out because we're passionate. See, people take this idea, just harp on this for a second. People think passion means arrogance. They misconstrue the two. Right? People say about me, I use myself as an example, yells and screams and this and that. I always tell people, turn on the volume. Yeah. Yelling and screaming, I was like, yeah. It means you have passion. It means you're alive. That's what it means. Now, some people would say, if you said things in a normal tone of voice, maybe people take it differently, and then, okay, maybe. Maybe I think people like passion. I think people like to get woken up. People like to feel alive, so to speak. Right? So we have an issue here. Right? And the issue is people say it's annoying. I'm not going to say everybody, whatever they say. Yeah, but it can go against Torah mitzvahs. And because we're passionate about Torah mitzvahs and we've changed our lives, we get annoyed. Probably too easily. That's what he's saying. That's, you want to make sure there are no breaches in Torah. And then you're going to have a discussion and your blood's going to boil because this person's talking out their elbow. I'm being generous here. And they never learned the lick. I'm not saying we're the world's greatest scholars. It doesn't matter. But they've never looked into anything. They say this garbage. It's annoying. It's extremely annoying. See, it's one thing you're arguing, you're having a discussion on equal terms. Here you're not having a discussion on equal terms. Okay. You're talking apples and oranges. Probably a waste of time, probably. But see, we have passion. We have a lot of passion for what we do. We believe with everything, with all our hearts, what we do. So here are people that make stupid, idiotic comments. It's hard to sit back and say, okay, I'm going to take that. Okay, you have a right to your opinion, right? And someone told me that it's like, okay, we can agree to disagree. You're not agreeing to disagree in anything. You're just blowing me off. That's not an answer. I'm like, come on, if you were part of a debate team, you get an F. You get an F. I said, come on, give me some information. Give me something. Give me something to say that I should respect your opinion. So you might think you say it like that, that's arrogance. You're right. And say it like that. I said, give me something. Something, somewhere. Torah, Medrash, Gemara, anything. No, they weren't taking they weren't biting at the chomp here. They weren't interested. Okay. Yeah, but passion does not mean arrogance. Passion means you're passionate about what you do, what you believe. You think that people don't believe that? Okay, you think they're wrong. And we think the whole rest of the world is wrong. And we think all the other religions of the world, so quote unquote, are wrong. You're right. That's what we think. So people will say, oh, because you're God's chosen people and, this and that. Listen, God chose us, we chose him. None of the other nations wanted. Okay. So they're going to say, well, you must be pretty confident. You want to have a discussion? Let's see. Let's see what you bring to the table. Right? And I think most people will not bite you because they're afraid. What if you're right? What if you prove me wrong? Yeah. And people aren't intellectually honest either, most people. But okay. So the point he's making, that my Rebbe is making over here, is that even if you're going to be passionate and you want to make sure there are no breaches in keeping Torah mitzvahs, okay, very good. But you want to make sure, even in such a case, you don't get easily angry. So we said that's kind of a catch-22 because the person just spewing garbage, they're not listening. you're trying to engage them and they're not listening, you get annoyed. It's annoying. Right? So you have to know what the playing field is, right? You have to know, what you're getting yourself into, what the arguments are, different things. And at the same time, there's a fine line, I would say, between having all this passion and anger. Right? And what are we really angry about anyway? What? Because the person's an idiot? No, what are we angry about? We're angry that they don't know what they're talking about. That can make us angry. But they're making these breaches and doing what they're doing because they have no knowledge. If they had knowledge, they wouldn't be doing this. So that's what makes us angry. Is that, we have to respect their opinion. They can't read Hebrew. They've never looked at any of the sources. Where should my respect come? Why is that opinion valid? Someone's got a PhD, you would argue with them based on a Wikipedia article? No. I mean, some people might. Most people won't. You read something about physics. You're going to knock off Stephen Hawking in physics? I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe someone's got a big ego. They think they could have knocked them out. Maybe. It's not normal. Take one thing you read, you don't know anything else about the topic, makes you an expert. Right? You know what they say? You learn a little about a lot of things, makes you an expert in nothing. Most people say things they don't, it's just ludicrous. It's ludicrous. People say things and do things because it's in vogue today. That's why they do it, not based on anything else. Right? So this is kind of hard. Because a person may be very passionate, very, very passionate, but you got to be in control. You have to be in control. That anger has to be harnessed and used in the right way. Because when someone says something that's just like so out of the realm of reality, and they're not listening, it's annoying. The Rebbe is saying, even such a case, where they're making breaches in Torah based on non-education. And that they're talking, as we said, out of their elbow. It's annoying. But he's saying, even in such a case, you should not get easily angered. It's hard. Right? You got to separate the two. In the passion, in the heat of an argument, a person can say things, right? Then what eventually happens, or could happen, is that a person is going to say something, and then they start calling names or putting them down in other ways. So then the argument goes out the window. Then they say, oh, now you think I'm this? Now you think I'm that? So it goes nowhere. Right? You lost the person. Right? So you always have to be in control. And I'm just pointing out, being in control is not so easy. Right? It's not so easy under these, it's not so easy under these, under these circumstances because, ignorance is a problem. It's a serious problem. And some people just think and say, well, that's your opinion. Okay, I got 3,000 years of history to back it up. I got this to back it up. You want to hear more? No. Right? So most people can argue. It's probably a waste of time. Yeah, let me see the questions here. Let's deal with it. Someone hears, God should have mercy on them and that they should be able to see the truth, right? 100%. Let people see the truth. A lot of people don't want to see the truth. That's the problem. There's nobody home. They'll just say what they say, but, a lot of what they say makes no sense. All right. Someone asks, okay, to switch my feeling of anger into sadness. You could do that. Now, sadness depends what level of sadness also. The sadness that could depress a person. You think about, you take that anger and you put it somewhere else. You got to put it in a place where it's not going to affect you in a negative way. Sadness could affect you in a negative way. Right? So, so that's an issue. that would be an issue. If you tell me I'm going to channel it in a place where it's not going to affect me negatively, you have to see how far that sadness goes. I think, God at the same time, can do judgment and be sad at the same time. All right, we mentioned this before in the Q&A. Right, we mentioned before, in other places as well, is that the angels, when the Egyptians are drowning, the angels want to sing Shira. They want to sing praise to God. So God says, but my creation's drowning. How can you sing Shira? How can you praise me? So God can say, I'm doing judgment. And even though I'm doing judgment to my creation, I'm still sad. Right? He can have both emotions at the same time. So a person can be angry and sad. I mean, you could be angry and sad in some ways. Right? And so, the anger could lead to sadness. Right? Very well could be. So the question is, what's that level of sadness? How does that affect? And back to not to harp on this, back to what happened on October 7th, it's taken a lot of steam out of a lot of people. A lot of steam. It's like, how can people get married today? How can we be happy today? How can we sing and dance today after what happens? Deflating. Extremely deflating. Yeah, I'm not even going to mention the army screw-ups and and all that, and what the higher ups are going to feel and what they feel. They probably feel 10 times worse than anyone else. Probably. Because their guidance blew it here, in a major way. So, yeah, the point is, if it's channeled in a different way, let's say it's channeled in a different way. If it's channeled in a different way, as long as it's not going to overcome a person to the extent where, they can't function, or it's just going to, it's going to have, such a negative effect, probably not. Right? Then to channel it that way, would be bad. If a person, let's say, they have this anger, right? So, how should they get that anger out? Exercise, definitely a good thing, right? Get the endorphins going, so to speak. That would be a good thing. Just to let it out in a way that's not going to affect anyone, right? To put it somewhere where it could also have a negative effect. So you say, what's worse? The anger is bad. Anger 100% is bad. Yeah, in general. Sadness, okay, we're allowed to be sad. But the question is how far that goes. There's sadness, and then there's sadness that's debilitating. Person can't get out of bed. Person doesn't want to function. That sadness is, could lead to depression. I'm not saying clinical depression, but it can make a person depressed. Right? Well, so you're going to say, well, pick your poison. If anger is the worst thing, so I'll put it in something else that's not as bad. Yeah. I don't know how much that helps. Right? Maybe it helps in some ways. But, if it's in a negative way, it could have a negative effect also. Someone asked, okay, we mentioned about a woman putting on a towel. So someone asked, why women want men's mitzvahs? Yeah, when a woman, makes blessings in the morning, she doesn't say, thank God I'm not a man. Right? A man will say, thank God I'm not a slave, thank God I'm not a woman. In the context, they have less mitzvahs. They have less mitzvahs than men do. So what does a woman say? A woman says, Shesani cared so no. You created me according to your will. Now, the problem is, we live in a world, women can be doctors, lawyers, CEOs, all kinds of things. They're not limited. Maybe the pay's not the same, whatever, but they're not limited. In Torah, they're limited. There's a reason why they're limited. But, you live in this world where, everyone's created equal. Yeah, Torah doesn't say that. Torah says we have different roles, right? But if you live in a pretty much feminist world, In a leftist world, they're going to say no difference. Right? No difference between men and women. Well, there are differences. There are biological, physiological differences. Yes, they are. Right? There are other issues. There are other issues. Men and women don't think the same. Yeah. Well, a lot of different things. So women, some of them, I'm going to say it's for the sake of heaven. They want to learn more. They want to take on more. Right? That's not necessarily a bad thing. Not necessarily. But the problem is, most of them, vast majority, are taking on because they want to do what men do. Now, I heard, a woman tell me that, she likes learning Daf Yomi. 2 pages of Talmud every day. Finish the Talmud in 7 years. Right? And, again, intellectual stimulation, very good. Yeah, it has nothing to do with brain power. We're not talking about that. You see, women can do all kinds of things better than men. Right? That's not the issue. That's not the issue. But the Talmud itself, keep in mind, the Talmud itself says, and I could say the men put it in there so women wouldn't do it, but the Talmud itself says clear that this is not for women. They're not going to find fulfillment in doing this. Right? So then you would ask all these feminists, okay, you want to learn Talmud, again, let's say it's for the sake of heaven, I'll give the benefit of the doubt, which I shouldn't, but let's say, they're going to say, I want to do it for the sake of heaven. Okay. But the Talmud that you want to learn says it's not good for women. It's not something a woman's going to find her potential in. So then you would ask, so why do you want to learn it? So then you have to come on to all kinds of ways. You have to see what the rabbis meant. They didn't say just don't learn anything, right? We're not talking about, they didn't say that. They're talking about this specific case. Tanakh, can they learn? Yeah. Jewish philosophy, can they learn? Yeah. Mussar ethics, can they learn? Yeah. Why do you think they can learn? You just tell them, oh, you can't learn this. Everyone goes up in arms. Because, everything that's forbidden, I want to learn. Very good. But you have to ask the question. Again, I don't care if it's intellectual stimulation. I don't care if they're doing it for the sake of heaven. That's not the point. The point is these same rabbis they want to learn from, right? And, and they're going to study. Tell them this is not a good thing. So you would ask, so you can say, they hate women. They want to make sure women don't learn. They want to keep them ignorant. They want to this, they want to that. You can say whatever you want. The Talmud itself says, if you're going to hold by what it says in other things, keeping kosher, lighting Hanukkah candles, Shabbos, blessings, all these things, you got to listen to what the rabbis say in general, because that's the mitzvah. Right? Because it says in Deuteronomy, you got to listen to the Kohen and the Levite in every generation. Those are the rabbis. So you're going to learn, you're going to say and do you're going to do what they say. So if you're going to do what they say and they tell you it's not good for you to do, so why are you going against them? Why are you picking your own religion here? Why are you picking and choosing? Why should you do that? Now again, some people say, I gotta see what it means. They don't really mean that. And it's pretty black and white. That's pretty black and white. Yeah. So most people are doing it because they want to be a feminist. They want to show they can do it like men. And there's no difference between men and women. That's not true. 100% it's not true. Some of them are for the sake of heaven, true. But again, this is a breach. This is a breach in how far it goes. And that's the problem. Because once you have such a breach, there's no end. There's no end. Right? And it becomes a disaster. Because then they say, well, why can't women be rabbis? Right? And having, and very left wing or modern Orthodox, more modern Orthodox, they don't call them rabbis. Call them something else, but essentially that's what they are. Essentially that's what they are. So, you want to rely on Webster's 8th definition and you want to say, oh, this proves this and this proves that. Okay. The rest of the Orthodox community doesn't hold of it. So now who's making the breach? Who's making the breach? And then a lot of these communities just going to say, the ones that are making the breach, these communities are in big trouble. They're not going to last. Maybe one generation, maybe a little bit more, because it's built on a lie. They don't believe the Torah is from heaven. They don't believe it. So what's going to happen? It's going to get watered down. Finished. Right? So certain communities, you have some of these rabbis. I'll tell people, no, shouldn't go there. Because they believe in things that go in contradiction to Torah. So how can they do that? Good question. You have to ask them. So don't call them Orthodox. You don't call them Orthodox. If you don't call them Orthodox, I don't have a problem. So the conservative, they're not that far behind, the conservative movement. Okay. Yeah. But you want to say, that they're, quote unquote Orthodox, and they have an Orthodox agenda, and you see what they do, you can't call them Orthodox. I mean, I hate labels anyway. You can't call them Torah Jews because they're not keeping. 100% they're not keeping. And if they're not keeping, and they're making breaches, that's a problem. Some people say based on that, come on, there's a lot of infighting. You should live and let live. No, there's a problem. When you go past a certain boundary, you open up a Pandora's box. The problem is anything goes. And you can rely on opinions that no one in their right mind would rely on. We always say you cannot turn the Torah into a pretzel. That's not what we should do. You're going to say, but you got to be more inclusive than not inclusive. Up until 250 years ago, everyone was Orthodox. Some more, some less. Then you have the Reform movement, you have the Conservative movement. There was a disaster after that. So the Torah was uniform. Now you got different groups trying to say, we can do this, we can do that, and make breaches, which is what they're doing. It's not going to last. It's impossible to last. Why? Because if something's based on a lie, it won't stand. It's impossible to stand. And I've seen it. I've heard it. It's a scary proposition. It's a scary proposition. I would agree, and I've said this many times. If I would see this works on a global basis, and you could pass that down to the next generation without messing it up, and it be authentic, okay, we could have a discussion. But see, that discussion's never going to happen. It's never going to happen because it doesn't. They're just looking for ways to be all inclusive. As we said before, leave your mind open till your brains fall on the floor. That's what it is. That's what it is. You got people that are gay. You got to be inclusive, right? You got to be all inclusive. These are real issues. Heard someone I went to yeshiva with said, yeah, in the modern Orthodox community, it's a real issue. Question is what you do. Pretty big Torah prohibition. You can't condone it. You can't say, well, Leviticus chapter 18, we'll get there one day. Right? I don't know when, but we'll get there one day. And you'll tell me it's on the books, black and white. You're not allowed to do it. It's an abomination, the sin, not the person. Yeah, so how can we be all inclusive? How can we give someone honors in the synagogue? That's what they do. Yeah, I mean, you could say that, the person committed fraud. The person did this. Okay, there's other issues. It's a pretty top of the list, pretty bad. Someone who desecrates Shabbos. How can you call them up to the Torah? They have status of a non-Jew in many ways. Someone intermarried, even better. Right? You say across the board, you should be able to call them up. Maybe some circumstances you might have to. Whatever. There's a serious problem. Right? What's the serious problem? What is the Torah? What is the blessing a person makes over the Torah? What's the blessing they make? First blessing they make, they say, Asher b'charbanu mikol ha'amim. You have chosen me among the Jewish people. Right? Sorry, you have chosen me among the nations. You are saying that God has chosen you, i.e. the Jewish people, among the nations. And then he gave us the Torah. Now, if you're married to a non-Jew, if a Jew is married to a non-Jew, how can you make that blessing? That, in essence, is the blessing of vain. You chose me among the nations, right? We mentioned the end of the book of Leviticus, it says, God took us out of Egypt. The French are Jews from non-Jews. You think he took us out of Egypt so people could intermarry? You think he took us out of Egypt so people could eat shrimp? He took us out of Egypt. He made us a nation. So how can that be condoned? How can you give someone an honor? Again, I'm not saying across the board. There might be times you might not have a choice for different reasons. I don't want to go into it, but for different reasons, maybe you might have to. Maybe you might have to. But in general, how should you be allowed to? They cannot make that blessing. They can't make the blessing. It's a contradiction in terms. You want to honor somebody, be called up to the Torah, and they're spitting on the Torah. That's what they're doing. I'm not saying someone's going to convert, they're becoming more religious. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about where nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. So I would tell somebody like this, make it real graphic. Take someone to synagogue, nobody's there, right? You go one day, nobody's there. Morning, afternoon, doesn't matter. You say, I want to show you something. So you go into the sanctuary, right? You go in the sanctuary. You say, okay, I want you to open the ark. Like, what do we need to open the ark for? Just open the ark. We're going to open the ark. Yeah, but no one's around. We're not reading Torah today. Doesn't matter. Just open the ark. Fine. They open the ark. So you see all these Torah scrolls. Yeah, pretty in awe of these Torah scrolls. Yeah. Good. Okay, let's take the Torah out. But you're not going to read from the Torah. Doesn't matter. Just take the Torah out. Very good. Take the Torah out. Okay. Now we're gonna put on the beam up. Right, we're gonna put on the lectern over here. Right, bring it up. We're gonna open it up. All right, what are you doing? Just open it up. Doesn't matter. Right, just open it up. Very good. Right, so you take off the parocha, you take off the cover. Right, you open it up. Say, okay. I got one last thing. One last thing to do. So now we're gonna pick it up. Right, roll it up, give it to the person. Right, very good. Now it's one last thing I want you to do. I said, this whole thing doesn't make any sense. We're in the synagogue, you take out the Torah scroll, you unravel it, right? You uncover it. You take the Torah scroll, I'm holding this Torah scroll, right? This is the person saying, I'm holding this Torah scroll. What do you want from this? So then I would tell them, okay, now, you got the Torah scroll, you're holding it very tight, very precious. Yeah, you're holding it very tight, very good. I got one last thing I got two things I want you to do. Right? Oh, make it one. I won't make it as graphic. Right? I got one last thing I want you to do. And he said, what's that? I said, take the Torah scroll now and throw it on the ground. They're like, you're nuts. I go, I know, of course I'm nuts. Yeah. Yeah. Why won't you throw it on the ground? What are you talking about? Don't you know a Torah scroll is holy? It's like you telling you this, that's a great Shabbos and it's intimate. Yeah. Yeah. Don't you know the Torah scroll is holy? You can't just throw it on the ground. You're not even telling if you have to fast or not afterwards. So what? Throw it on the ground. What are you afraid to throw it on the ground for? You don't believe in it anyway. Throw it on the ground and spit on it. I would have said to defecate on it. I don't want to get gross. Spit on it. Someone in the camps during World War II. They gave them the opportunity. They said, we want you. The person was religious. They told them, take the Torah scroll and throw it on the ground. Sorry, they took the Torah scroll, they had it on the ground, they said, defecate on the Torah scroll. Make on the Torah scroll. They wouldn't do it. Said, otherwise we're going to kill you. And they shot him. See, there's certain things Jews just won't do because it's inside of them. So this person would look at me and say, you're absolutely off your rocker. You're right, I'm off my rocker. A lot of people said worse. A lot of people said worse. Now, you're intermarried. You're married to a non-Jew, the single greatest threat facing the Jewish people today. No question about it. 60%, 70%, 80% into marriage. Some places even higher. So you want to take you want to say, I have a connection to the Torah scroll? You're taking that Torah scroll and you're making all over it. You might as well just throw it on the ground. It's not worth anything to you. That's how far it goes. That's how far it goes. Now, a secular Jew, doesn't matter how far away from Torah they are. Does not matter. It's so ingrained in them because of their DNA, regardless of how they grew up or not, this is a sacred thing. Everyone believes it's a sacred thing. How sacred it is, how you keep it, I keep it, doesn't matter. Right? They still believe deep down because it's part of their Jewish psyche, part of their soul. They'll never throw it on the ground. They'll never spin on it. They'll never defecate on it. Right? Why not? it'd be a similar thing. Well, it depends how much you love your parents or not. It'd be a similar thing, if someone offered a person a lot of money, tens of thousands of dollars after a parent died. Again, this is if you had a good relationship with parents, not if you had bad. And you say, I'll give you $1 million. Let me use your parents' scientific experimentation. How many people would be willing to do it? Some would, because they hate their parents. Okay. Let's say some would. I bet a lot of people wouldn't. Right? I bet all the money I don't have, a lot of people probably wouldn't do it. Why wouldn't they do it? Right? The person could convince them, listen, they're not going to feel they're dead. Scientific experimentation, what do you care? We'll give you $1 million. $1 million, so let us do whatever we want with the body. They hold the holiness of the body. So, we can have a long discussion on this. But let's just say, guarantee a lot of people wouldn't do it, no matter what they felt for the parent. A lot of people, not saying everybody. Yeah, why wouldn't they do it? So I'll give you $2 million. You don't know anything. Won't tell you anything that happened, this, that. You don't know anything. Most people probably wouldn't do it. Why not? What's stopping them? Because they have an affinity to the parents. I'm not going to say if they were abused, they say, okay, do it. What do I care? Another part, let them fry. Some people say that, okay. But I guarantee, someone who brought you into this world, in general, you want them to carve up the body and do whatever they want after they die? I don't think most people do it. Most people wouldn't do it. Maybe under certain circumstances, maybe. But not even for a ton of money. It doesn't matter how desperate they are for money or anything else. They're not going to let someone just cover up their body. Now, why is that? Because it's something inherent in the person. It's inherent in the person's kishkes, in their guts. That's the soul. Soul won't allow them to do it. Anybody non-Jews? They also have a soul. Right? They may not have the same aspects as a Jewish soul. Okay. But I would think most people would not do that. Some might. Okay. I didn't do a survey. I guarantee a lot of people wouldn't do it. So the point is what's inside a person. What's the DNA making us tick? If you're a Jew, your DNA is, I got to be closer to God. That's what my DNA tells me. Doesn't mean I always act on it. Maybe a lot of times the person doesn't act on it. Maybe they never act on it in their lives. Maybe one time here, one time there. But the soul wants to come out and shine. You have to keep it alive. Torah mitzvahs. You don't give it Torah mitzvahs, the soul will die. Not physically. Spiritually, the soul is stuck. Soul is stuck inside the human body. So when the soul is stuck inside the human body, you're going according to what? Desire. To do whatever you want to do. That's what you're doing. Essentially, that's what you're doing. So that's true. You got to feed it. If you don't feed it, spiritually, what happens? It just becomes a physical body. You do physical things. Spiritually, you're nothing. You don't have any connection to anything. Right? So, role is important. What am I doing here? Today, that's all been skewed. Totally been skewed. Men are men, women are women, children are children. I mean, it's a whole messed up thing. Totally messed up thing. Everyone's giving free choice at a young age, do whatever they want. Makes no sense. No sense at all. It's a totally upside down world. Nobody knows who they are today. Right? So we have our heart pumping, and the Jewish people have that DNA. That DNA is telling them we should be close to God. But what's the problem? You got a fight between body and soul. You always have that fight till you die between body and soul. The body wants to go after physical things. The body's going to debase the body and the soul. Soul wants to do good things, keep Torah mitzvahs. When mitzvahs are kept, it uplifts the body, uplifts the soul, but it's constant battle. Constant battle. So the problem is people want, how to get onto this because people want to do what they want. Even if it's bad for them. Right? As we said. Women want to learn things that the Talmud says is bad for them. It's not going to bring out their potential. If it's not going to bring out their potential, why do it? Because people want to say, I can do it. There's no difference. That's what they're saying. If they're doing it for the sake of heaven, that's what they're saying. They're saying there's no difference between men and women. And the Talmud disagrees. And the Talmud disagrees. Yeah. Okay, somebody asked another question here. Deal with another question here. Somebody asks, what if someone is in the process of converting, feels that way doing mitzvahs? Is it invalid? Again, the reward for the mitzvah is something else. The feeling of doing the mitzvah, they can feel it. Person can feel that they're doing the mitzvah, they're doing it right. Now, again, reward you won't necessarily get in this world. But can a person feel spiritual by doing something, they're doing it right? Yeah. Even as a non-Jew. They could definitely feel that. My point is that if it's done wrong, you might feel a spiritual thing. Or you might feel something. But if you didn't do the mitzvah, you're not feeling that. What are you feeling? That again, I can't answer that. I can't say what it is. If it's a manifestation of thinking that, well, I am trying to do the right thing. I am going in the right path. Okay, I made a mistake. But person can feel what they're doing is beneficial for them, even if they made a mistake. But the problem is that, again, if you're doing something where the whole point is it's a certain ritual, but that ritual was done in the wrong way. To feel something, some aspect of the mitzvah, listen, what do you do? Let's say a person goes to synagogue. And in that synagogue, what do? In that synagogue, let's say Friday night, Shabbos day, they have an organ. Someone comes in with a guitar. Someone comes in with, I don't know, whatever instrument to embellish the service. Make people sing and dance. Now, some people will say, they go through that, they're going to say, wow, this is inspiration. People are singing, people are dancing, people are clapping. They've never felt like this in their lives. So what are they feeling exactly? Are they feeling the happiness of the mitzvah? They're not doing the mitzvah right. They're using things you can't use on Shabbos. You can't use these things on Shabbos. They're going to say, people will say, but it enhances. Even if it does. The Talmud will call it a mitzvah haba ba'aver. You're trying to do a mitzvah at the same time, transgressing. So how does that fulfill the mitzvah? So what does that person feel? I don't know. They feel something. They want to feel connected. That's what most people want, in their own way. They want to feel connected. You feel connected this way. You want to say all the prayers. We feel connected saying a quarter of them, a third of them. We chop them up. We do this. We do that. We feel more connected that way. They're just doing what they want. But see, what does connection to God do? What should it do? Connection to God, if you do it right, you want to do more. You want to be more connected, not less connected. Or not connected at the same speed. If we're inspired, we learn something, we hear something. Yeah, it uplifts us. Okay. Now, even if that's the case, even if that would be the case, what should that lead to? What would we think that should lead to? More observance. The more I learn, the more I want to learn. Right? What do we say in the paragraph before the Shema? In the morning, Lilmo, Lamed, Lishmor, Vlasos. Lilmo to learn, Lamed to teach, Lishmor to guard, Lasos to do. Judaism is about action. A lot of Jewish philosophy, true, it's all about action. It's all about what I do. If I get inspired, I do something, what would the natural reaction would be? I'm not going to say what the evil inclination is going to do. We'll get there. What would be the natural reaction? The Mishna Pirke Avos says, mitzvah goreres mitzvah. Avera goreres avera. A person going in the right path, he does the mitzvah, is going to cause him to do other mitzvahs. If they're going on the wrong path, transgressions cause what? Other transgressions. So if you're going in the right path, logic would tell me, spiritual logic would tell me, that if I'm going in the right path, I want to do more. I want to keep more mitzvahs. Yeah, I want to go further. I want to be uplifted. True? That's what you would think. So in any of these cases, what happens, and this is probably common, what happens there, that person's status doesn't go anywhere. Right? Doesn't go anywhere. Doesn't help them. It's not making them more religious. It's keeping them the same. Right now they're inspired. Okay, what about tomorrow? What about the next day? What about the next week? Is it going to inspire them to want to keep more or not? So I would say, and people say it's kind of presumptuous, but I'm going to say that these people are not going to grow that much afterwards. They're not going to grow because they're doing things within their own parameters the way they want, quote unquote. That's not going to draw them closer to God. It's not going to do it. It's going to be God made up in their own minds. Because they're not following Torah mitzvahs. They're following whatever their heart tells them to do. So this is good inspiration. Maybe they'll come next week, maybe. And they'll be more inspired. Okay. But is more inspired going to lead them to keep more mitzvahs? Now, someone will say you don't know that. That it could lead to that. Yeah, it could. I don't see it. I don't see it works. You know, many years ago, the conservative movement had a campaign, bring Friday night into Shabbos. We want to get more people coming to synagogue on Shabbos. So do whatever it takes. You know, you got an organ, you got a guitar, you got this, you got that. Someone asked me this many years ago, so what do you think of that? I said, if it's going to lead people to keep, come next week, and they're going to start taking on more mitzvahs and do it the right way, okay. It's still called mitzvah b'avera. It's still called doing things wrong. Starting off on the wrong foot. Okay, that's your choice. If it would work. Ain't going to work. Let's say you brought 1,000 people. Next week's going to be what? 200? 50? 150? How are you going to bring them back? You got to do a lot of follow-up. Okay. How are you going to bring the same numbers back? They're not coming. That's just the result. You're gonna need, you have to be like a game show host. You need a new gimmick. You're gonna need a new gimmick every week to bring them in the door. This is a good gimmick, okay? Let's say it can never stand. Why? It's based on a false premise. Something based on a false premise will never stand. Maybe a week, maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe longer. Doesn't matter. It's going to fall like a deck of cards. It's going to fall. It has to fall because it's based on a lie. Even though, a lot of lies have been out there for hundreds of years. They're still going. They're still going. Okay. These things won't last. They're not going to last. This is not prophecy. It's not prophecy by any stretch. It's things I've seen. Things I would say is black and white. Right? There's no discussion here. I don't believe there's any discussion because this is who they are. They don't change. Maybe a little bit, I don't, they're not based in Torah mitzvahs. If they're not based in Torah mitzvahs, how is it possible? It's impossible. Even though someone say, you don't know what's in the heart of a person. You're right. What's the end result, though? You have the secular Jews come to synagogue, once, twice a year, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, very good. What do they get out of it? How many people are drawing closer to God because of someone will say, you don't know what's in their heart. Shouldn't open your mouth. You're right, I shouldn't. But what's the end result? What's the end result that we think? They don't change. They're not keeping extra mitzvahs. And if some are, very good. Most people, they feel guilt. It's part of their soul. They feel guilt. They want to go. That's when they go to synagogue. What about the next generation? The next generation doesn't show up. They don't show up. The famous joke. There are 4 sons, right? The 4 sons in the Haggadah, in the Passover Haggadah. There's a wise son, a wicked son, simple son, and the son does not ask. There's also a 5th son. You know what the 5th son is? He doesn't show up. He's the one who doesn't show up to the Seder. You have a lot of people unaffiliated. They have no connection at all. None. There's no connection. Yeah, that's the end result. That is the end result. If you tell me people are growing, they're taking on Torah mitzvahs even at a slow pace, very slow pace, okay. That's not what I see. It's not what I hear. They don't want any part of it. None. They don't want any part of it whatsoever. Someone tells me they grew up in the conservative movement, I'll tell you how far it goes. So someone gets married. Before they get married, they decide they don't want God being mentioned in the ceremony. Imagine. There are 7 blessings he makes under the canopy. All mentioning God's name. They don't want to mention God's name. In the end, it worked out. They did whatever, but someone asked me, how could that be? They went to Hebrew school. They went to Jewish camp. Family's very Jewish, this and that, not observant, right? Very Jewish, but not very observant. Cardiac Jew. Cultural Jew. So someone asked me. They said, how is that possible? So I said, you ready for the answer? So I don't think you're going to like the answer. I said, are you ready for the answer? You're sitting down? They said, yeah. I said, because they're not taught to keep Torah mitzvahs. How can you teach a love of Torah without Torah mitzvahs? It's a secular thing. Some people will say, being more of it, some people less of it, some don't have anything to do with it. And that's the majority. How many people don't have anything to do with Judaism after they've gone to Hebrew school? 4 or 5 years, they have a bar bat mitzvah. That's it. They don't have anything to do with it. They have nothing to do with it. You want to tell me you're shocked? They don't want to hear God's name? No, not shocking. Why should it be shocking? There's no reason why they should hear God's name. Not interested. Because they were never interested. It's about keeping Torah mitzvahs. Try and convince somebody who loves chocolate, that hates chocolate, that they should eat chocolate. They don't like chocolate. They like vanilla, peppermint stick. I don't know if that still exists. Peppermint stick, vanilla, pistachio. They like pistachio a lot better than chocolate. Go convince them to eat chocolate. I said to someone that said, you put on tefillin every day or almost every day, whatever it is. How are you going to convince your kid to do it? So what do you mean? They'll see me doing it. Well, he's going to ask, why do we do this? It's tradition. That's what we do. It's going to say, come on. It's the same thing. You like chocolate, I like vanilla. Doesn't have meaning. It only has meaning. The bigger picture, God gave the Torah, Mount Sinai. And that's my obligation to keep it. That's the meaning. That's what it's all about. Feel it in my heart. I don't feel it in my heart. Doesn't matter. You got an obligation to keep the Torah. You have an obligation to keep it. Finished. You don't want to keep it. It's your choice. But if you thought it's all a fairy tale and doesn't really mean anything, why are you going to mention God's name at your wedding? So this person had a conversation. The rabbi they grew up with, blah, blah, blah. They were able to convince them. Very good. The person had to be convinced. You hear the words? They had to be convinced in order that they should mention God at a wedding, right? At a wedding service. God was so cruel to you. You wouldn't mention his name, right? Not even about that. It's about the fact they don't believe in it. So they don't believe in it. Why mention it? Want to have a humanistic ceremony, whatever that means. We're not going to mention God. It's their choice. You're right. It's their choice. You want to tell me it's shocking how they grew up? How the Torah is presented? Not shocking at all. Sad. That I can tell you. Very sad. Very, very sad. Shocking? No. Because they make the Torah up as they go along. Oh, we would never be like this. That's the religion. That's this. Yeah. Have they ever looked at it? Never. Never. Not 100 years. Not 1,000 years. Not interested. Yeah. Someone here asks, in these days, very important to heal him, right? Right? Very big mitzvah. Very big mitzvah to keep Torah mitzvah, keeping Torah mitzvah. Very good. Right? Very important today, as we said, to say Tehillim, right? To say Psalms. So the question is, can you tell how Tehillim was created? Heard the idea was created by 10. Who was it created by? Who wrote the book of Tehillim? King David. All of them he wrote. So the question is, you read the words. The words are inspirational in a lot of ways. So if the words are inspirational, everyone holds, these are divinely inspired words, no question. No question. Now, someone wants to say, I heard there was an idea was created by 10. I don't think so. King David wrote it himself. He himself, all by himself. No committee, no nothing. Right? And God put these words in his head, and that's what he did. And he wrote these entire book of Psalms. Somebody asks, all right. Someone here mentions, what is someone in the problem? Okay. Speaking in tongues. Yeah, I mentioned that. Somebody asks, like pretending you're doing his boydedut, being alone with God. Yeah. Going out to the forest and commuting with God and this and that. Could be, but what are they saying? Right? I don't think it's his boydedut. They're doing it in front of other people. Right? Let's say they're doing it by themselves. Let's say. What do they really think is going on? It's like the spirits come inside of them and talking in this language. I mean, different ways to look at it, I guess. He's boydedut. It doesn't mean he's boydedut. It doesn't mean you're, that's not what his boydedut is. Right? You have a conversation, it's meditation, it's not meditation. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But, if they're like, I don't know, writhing around on the floor and they're, who knows what's coming out of their mouth, that's not meditation. Well, tell me meditation's one thing, right? They're trying to stay focused. They're trying to have this connection. Okay, that's his boldness. That I get. I don't think this is it. I don't think it's even close to that. Yeah. Someone asked, how can we take on extra things to be invalid? Very good. That's exactly the point. Right? If it's something, let's say women are not obligated, they're bound by time. Their mitzvahs are bound by time. Okay. Even by mitzvahs that they're bound by time, if they do it, they can get credit for it. If it's something they don't have a connection to, if they do it's a transgression, that's not helping them. 100%, that's not helping. Right? Right? If it's something that's forbidden, you're right. That's the whole point. You're right? That's exactly the point. If it's forbidden, you're not just not helping, it's forbidden. These things are forbidden. Now, if it's something where, again, it's mitzvah bound by time, sitting in a sukkah, good example. Can a woman sit in a sukkah? Yes. Can a woman make a blessing of sitting in the sukkah? If she's Ashkenazic, yes. If she's Sephardic, no. Right? Because according to Sephardic tradition, women, if they sit in the sukkah, they do not make a blessing. They don't make a blessing. Now again, a mitzvah bound by time, can they do? Yep. There are things they can do. Other things that the bound by time is forbidden, yes. So if it's something that's forbidden, taking it on doesn't help you, just the opposite. You're transgressing. You're doing something you shouldn't be doing. Right? 100%. 100%. Someone asked, you think that the IDF only gets angry at Hamas and not the Palestinians is the key to winning the war? I don't think it has anything to do with the IDF. Shocking. I don't think it has anything to do with the IDF. The only way Hamas gets taken out is because God wants them taken out by the IDF. It had nothing to do with them or what they think. They're the conduit to be able to do it. See, if we kept our mitzvahs properly, yeah, that shouldn't be an issue. I mean, still probably need a standing army, but they'd be taken care of in other ways, right? You probably wouldn't even need the army for them. Let's say, right? The IDF, by any stretch, there's no question of getting angry or not getting angry. It's irrelevant. 100% irrelevant. Why is it irrelevant? Because one of the things my Rebbe mentioned at the beginning of all this, what happened on October 7th is, the IDF pretty sure of themselves. Got a lot of firepower, got these great generals, they think they're the ones in charge. They think beyond the shadow of a doubt they're the ones in control. Now, you need a standing army. No one disagrees. You want to think for 1 second, it's the IDF pulling the strings here? They look pretty silly, didn't they? Higher ups were pretty silly. They're on vacation. They didn't think anything was happening. They had word about this a year ago. Things were going to happen. They didn't think, okay, they made a mistake. Serious mistake. Serious mistake that cost 1,000 lives. And now they sleep at night. Right? Serious miscalculation. Serious miscalculation. So Rebbe said, the first thing is, when this whole thing started, is that they're the arrogance of, Shabbat arrogance over here. They think that God's gift to the world, and look what they have, and look what they, look what they can do. Again, do you need a standing army? I'm not saying you don't. You do. 100%. Doesn't matter if they get angry at Hamas and they do this. It doesn't matter. Their anger, what they think, is irrelevant. It's totally irrelevant. They need people learning for them. They need people saying Tehillim, Psalms for them. And they need God to help them. They absolutely need God to help them. There have been a lot of miracles. A lot of miracles. They're walking in, to a whole booby-trapped place. Said at the beginning, it's going to be a bloodbath. There have been casualties. Number of soldiers have been killed. Finest of the finest have been killed. It's true. They've killed tens, hundreds of terrorists. Okay. Still, a lot more to go. It's not based on them. Let's not make the mistake. It's not the firepower of the idea. It's not what they think. It's not what they do. They can think, we're doing this and we're doing that. How do you explain so many missiles being shot? Okay, they hit things sometimes. A lot of them knocked down. And even the ones that get knocked down, what about the rest? 5,000 missiles on that day they shot. 5,000 missiles on one, they shot during that day. How many hit things directly? That's a 10%. A lot of them got knocked down. A lot of them hit nothing. So again, it's either got the stupidest people shooting them, possibly. Right? And you got a lot of them blowing up in their own places. Okay. Some of them get shot down. A lot of them get shot down. Very good. What about the other 10%? Tell me 500 missiles. Let's say 500 missiles you got left over. Or 200 missiles, even less. You got 200 missiles left over. Okay. You got 200 missiles left over. How do these 200 missiles, only a handful, hit something? And over the course of the last 50 days or more, how do you account for the fact these missiles don't hit anything most of the time? Vast majority of the time. 2 answers. 1 or 2 answers. I mean, these missiles are supposed to be highly accurate. 1 or 2 answers. Again, stupidest people shooting the missiles, possibility. Or God's deflecting them. That's it. No other answer. You can tell me you got the Patriot missiles knocking a lot of them down. Some of them misfire. Okay, what about the other 10%? What about 200 missiles? You got to tell me 200 missiles hit nothing? Less than 10 of them hit something concrete? Hit a house? Hit a fire hydrant? Hit something? Yeah, this is not the IDF's in control of that. They're not in control of that. The ones they knock down, very good. Yeah. The ones they miss or they don't hit. You want to tell me they hit nothing? There's just a barrage last week, Tel Aviv and surrounding areas. Some buildings got hit. There were certain things that got hit. Okay, a handful. A handful. It could do a heck of a lot more damage. And God forbid, should do a lot more damage. It's not the IDF over here. This is unexplainable. You're telling me they're shooting in places, not heavy population. Okay, I can understand they don't hit much. Even at close range. I can hear that. If you're targeting, and these missiles can go pretty far. If you're targeting places that there are hundreds and thousands of people, yeah, how do you not hit buildings? Majority of them hit something. Hit a telephone pole. I don't know. Cars get hit sometimes. Buildings get hit sometimes. It's such a small percentage. Tiny percent. I mean, it's scary. You hear a siren go off. If you're very close, you hit the deck, 15 seconds in those communities. Yeah, where I live, we got like half a minute. You got half a minute. Yeah. But even so, the odds of a person getting in a car accident 10 times greater. 10 times greater. But it's still a scary thing. I don't think there's any question here. You hear this thing. I don't think there's any question. I don't think there's any question. But if they don't hit anything, you got to say God's running the show over here, or you got the stupidest people shooting them. Could be both. Could very well be. Yeah. The IDF is not the end-to-end all things here. They've been major screw-ups over the years. Major screw-ups. Some things they paid for more. Some they got lucky they didn't pay for. They didn't have to pay for it. Screw-ups. I give one example. Many years ago, they wanted people to, afraid about Syria, different things. So they wanted people to have gas masks. They made sure, most people have gas masks. I don't even know where mine is, actually. Somewhere around here. Anyway, the IDF comes out and says, well, these gas masks don't work. Admitted it. Imagine if there was, God forbid, a gas attack. Imagine. These gas masks don't work. They admitted it themselves. How are you protecting the population? I mean, again, if there would be like a serious gas attack, and they gave out all these gas masks that don't work, people are gonna die. People are gonna die. It's a pretty serious screw up. Yeah, you just say, okay, give them a certain level of credit. Yeah, they mess up with this, mess up with that. Okay, things can happen in any army. In any army. Yeah. But people think these are the elite of the elite. Okay, let's say. So you need a good standing army. Good. They're not the ones running the show here. Not at all. They're in 6-day war, same thing. Got caught off guard. And they won the war miraculously. Absolutely miraculously. A lot of things they can't explain. They can't explain. Egyptians thought they saw a ghost and they backtracked and they fled. Thought they were surrounded, they fled. There are a lot of things. There are a lot of things. God's the one in charge here. That's what you got to remember. God's the one in charge, not the army. Now, again, do we need a standing army? Yeah. You need a standing army. True. And a standing army without God's protection, guess what? They're sitting ducks. They'll be sitting ducks. Right? That's not the key. The key to winning this war is by our prayers and our learning. That's the key. That's the only key here. With that, you can have a half-baked army and take care of them. Right? You wouldn't need an elite army to do it. Right? If God's running, if God's in charge, God can take care of them even with a ragtag army. Right? You see that happen in Hanukkah, right? You saw that, Hasmoneans, Drew the Maccabee, you think he was a statistician? He's an army statistician here, knew how to attack and this and that. They were Shiva students. This is a mighty Greek army, it's the world power at the time. Yeah, and they were able, that was one of the miracles. They were able to get them out. It was a long time it took them to get them out. Yeah. It wasn't because of their might. For sure not. Sheer numbers they didn't have. Not even close. Took out this one, took out that one. You have Judas, cut off the king's head or whatever. Put the fear in them. They all fled. When the king dies and you have it, you show them their leader. Here's your leader right here. Scared them. Totally scared them. Was that by the fight, the might of them? No. Well, they didn't even know how to fight, for goodness sakes. They were serving in the temple. How would they know how to fight? It's not about that. Right? It's not about the might of the army. You need the army. No one's going to say you don't need the army. You need the army. But since we're recording, I'll go on record and say, if this army wasn't as powerful and this and that, they could still wipe them out. How could they wipe them out? Because they got God behind them. That's it. That's it. It's not about mentality. Not about how tough they are. Not about what they think. It's about the fact that God's in charge and God will take care of them. Right? That's it. That's it. If you do ask me why, at the beginning of the war, why didn't they do this years ago? Why didn't they go in and just try and wipe them all out? Because they weren't casualties. Would have been Vietnam all over. Would have been 10 times worse. Sitting ducks. Well, the whole place will be trapped. You think anyone wants to go in there? No. Now they're doing what they have to do because they have no choice. Now they're hostages. And let's say they all fled. They didn't take hostages. Probably still be doing the same thing. Just try and beat them in submission, right? By attacking them. But they don't want to do this. They don't want to be an occupier, right? By any stretch. But they have no choice. You have to kill them all. That's all. There's no other way. You might end up, hostages might die. Okay. But at the end of the day, guess what? If you want to go in, this is what's going to happen. And there are going to be casualties. There for sure going to be casualties on our side. But hopefully they're going to be minimal at best if we're doing our job, praying and learning from them. That's a success. That is a success more than anything else. It's not the fight of my own. Right? It's not, as the Torah says in Deuteronomy, power of my hands did everything. It's not the power of my hands. Do we have to put our best foot forward? Yeah. You got to put your best foot forward, no question. We're putting your best foot forward. You're walking into a minefield. No pun intended. That's what you're doing. Now, again, they feel they have no choice. They got to get the hostage out. You're right. Yeah, it's a big mess. It's a big, big mess. And there are going to be casualties. There are going to be casualties on our side, no question. This is war. This is war. But their strength comes from us, not the other way around. It's not based on their own. Right? That's a mistake. That's a mistake. Because they have no power in and of themselves. God can show that very easily. Very easily. He can show that they don't have power. There was a terrorist attack last week or 2 weeks ago. A week and a half ago. Or something like that, whatever. Drive-by shooting. 4 people were killed. They killed the terrorists on the spot. Okay. Can they stop that on a regular basis? Not that I should give them ideas. Can they stop that happening from 10 different places in the country? No. No way to stop it. With their intelligence, whatever. Can't stop it. Could they stop a couple of years ago, people coming on buses trying to stab and kill people? No. They can keep them out of the country. That's what they can do. But I'm saying, when they're allowed to come in the country, can you stop that? No way to stop it. It went on for like 2 weeks, and then it finally stopped. Why did it stop? Because God stopped it. They'll say it's intelligence, this and that. God stopped it. Because according to logic, there's no way to stop it. It's impossible. Right? It's impossible. So it's not about the army. We're living here miraculously. There's no question. No question. I mean, unbelievable miracles. The army themselves say it's not, an unbelievable miracle. No question. No question about it. And you have hundreds of thousands, right? Shouldn't say hundreds of thousands. You get thousands of people, let's say better. Thousands of soldiers wearing tzitzis. Thousands of soldiers putting on tefillin every day. They know it's not about their power. They themselves, secular Jews, know it's not about their power. Not about their firepower, not about planes. It's the fact there's no atheist in the foxhole. It's about God himself. He's the one who runs things, bottom line. Right? Bottom line. Someone asked the Rabbi, Karabach play guitar on Shabbos during service. I don't think so. Not that I know of. Not that I know of. He did other things that he probably shouldn't have done. I don't know about that. I don't know if he went so far as that. Someone mentioned no difference between Palestinians and Hamas, right? They all hate Jews, that's no question. Yeah, let me see. So women don't say a blessing on the sukkah. I said, again, let's make clear. If you're Ashkenazic, you say a blessing on the sukkah. If you're Sephardic, you don't. Right? Because the question is, do you make a blessing on something you're exempt from? So according to Ashkenazic tradition, you do. If you're Sephardic, you don't. Yeah. How can you be occupying your own land? Yeah. Gaza is part of Israel, right? There's no question that part of down south from Eilat and part of the Negev, part of the south, is that really part of Israel or not? Right? That's a question. That is a question whether you need Truma Meiser, whether you need the tithe fruits or vegetables from fruits or vegetables in that area. Some say you do, some say you don't, some say it's not part of Israel. Some say it's really considered like outside of Israel. Right? So you could say, well, if that's not part of Israel, then what about quote unquote occupied territory? That's ours. That's pretty clear. Right? They would disagree, but we hold it's ours. Just like part of Sinai, yeah, Lebanon and Jordan, yeah. There are other parts that are going to be part of Israel, also greater Israel. That's where the Messiah comes. Right? It'll sort out that. What's going to be, whatever, the whole place is a mess. We're going to put in it. Even if you get all of them out. Palestinians in the occupied territories are no different. Right? They're just as bad. 100%. 100% they're just as bad. That's what it is. Right? That 100%, 100% that's what it is. So if and when we deserve that land, we'll get it. Right? So now, again, it's going to be a whole question what's going to be. And what's going to be afterwards. Which again, I don't think there is supporting Palestinian authority there. They're just as bad. They're no different. Right? They're all Hamas. Essentially. Some want to call themselves other things. They're no different. They all believe in the same thing, destroy the Jews. That's all they want. That's all they believe in. That we shouldn't be here. So that's what you're dealing with. Now, you put another entity there, even if it's not quote unquote Hamas, it's just as bad. It's just as bad. I mean, I think the Americans, everyone else, are fooling themselves. I don't think they have a clue. They think there's some better and some worse. No. They're all bad. Right? They're all bad. That's pretty clear. No one is changing their charter saying that we shouldn't try and kill all the Jews. Nobody. So what does that tell you? They're all bad. Right? That's the bottom line. Right? And you see what goes on throughout Jewish history. It's like a sine curve. The Jews do the right thing, the Jews are up here. The Jews do the wrong thing, they go down. They go up, they go down. Right? You can say that, you see what's going on, more Torah being learned than the Second Temple period. You got the Jews back in Israel, the state of Israel is flourishing in a lot of ways. Very good. You still got 90%, that don't keep Torah mitzvahs or keep very little, Torah mitzvahs. But the fact is that Jewish people survive is miraculous. I got 22 Arab states want to carve this place up. The odds of it surviving should be slim. Except this big X factor. Who's a big X factor? Is God himself. Right? God himself. There's no way out of the situation. It's just You flatten the place like a pancake. You kill whoever you kill, everyone else flees. It doesn't sound good on paper. That's what you gotta do. People think, all the other people, they're just, you got just Hamas in charge, only a handful of people, and everyone else, and everyone else is not, right? But you see, all the quote unquote, watch the videos, which I don't recommend. Jews were taken in, into Gaza, some half dead, some alive, this, that. They tortured them. Regular quote unquote everyday people. That's who they are. That's exactly who they are. So you're going to put in power. Who in the world are you going to put in power? It's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. Listen, Israel doesn't want to occupy it. You're right. That's for sure not. What are you going to do? What are you going to do over here? It's a nightmare. First thing is they got to get the rest of the hostages back and just flatten the place. That's what they're going to do. But, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while to do that. Doing a good job right now. Killing hundreds and hundreds of terrorists. Okay, still putting them underground. Now they got the place surrounded. So they can't get out. Just a question how they flush them out. Now they're putting seawater in all these tunnels. Supposedly to try and flush them out. But you got to be careful of the hostages also. So whatever, it's a whole catch-22. It's a whole mess. Right? It's a whole mess. But they don't have a choice. But who's the alternative? Who are you dealing with? The alternative is just as bad. That's what the world doesn't understand. Right? Even the ones that, I gotta have a two-state solution. Who's gonna be the other side? You put anyone else in power, they're gonna do the same thing. They are not any better by any stretch. So that's it. Not much else to do. Except pray. And that's what we have to do. That's what we have to continue to do. Is pray for the welfare of the soldiers, and for the army. And, that's what we can do. We can pray for them. We can learn for them. And there are miracles going on. A lot of miracles going on. And the army themselves are saying. As we always say, no atheists in the foxhole. They're like, keep praying. Keep learning. That's what's saving them in many ways. There's just so many stories that are, above nature. The whole thing, I don't know if anyone heard, there was whatever, guys were eating whatever, and someone threw a tuna can. Tuna can, one of these tunnels or something, like, I don't know, something caught, like a whole place blew up because of a tuna can. So like, there are things going on that you can't make any rhyme or reason of the fact that God runs the world, right? And God's in charge, right? That's the mantra. That is the mantra of the day. The army you need, they don't have success, and no Jewish army ever had success. They didn't have people learning for them, praying for them, and God is on their side. Because if God ain't on your side, all the prayers, everything else don't help. Right? You need God on your side at the same time. And he's the one waging the war. He's the one seeing that, gets taken care of. But without him, it's not about the army. It's not the power of the army. It's a big mistake. Big, big mistake. I've heard things over the years, that they themselves, the army itself, admitted mistakes. Admitted mistakes. It's not good. Right? I gave one example. Imagine if, God forbid, there was a chemical war. They used chemical warfare. A lot of people years ago, I think they fixed the problem, but many years ago, if that would have been the case, a lot of people would have died. You know why? Because the mask didn't work. And that's kind of scary. Think about it. Extremely scary, but okay. People say they're using too much, too much ammo, too much. They're doing whatever, the best they can do. You got human shields, whatever. And if they're too humanistic, their soldiers will die. Because they're held to withstand, or no one else in the world is held to. Nobody. And it's going to cost lives, God forbid. It will cost lives. Because there are things, you can be only as humane as you can. Something's got to give. Something has to give, and they'll be too nice and too this, and they'll get, something will backfire. something to backfire. You don't want that. I'm not saying they have to be ruthless and, whatever, but war is war. So we said before, Syrians killed 600,000 of their own people. Nerve gas. Anyone see the protesting said death to Syria? No. America went into Iraq, flattened people like a pancake, killed all kinds of civilians. You think anyone said anything? No. And this was Texas and Mexico. They would have flattened Mexico like a pancake, men, women, children, burritos. They would have, Taco Bell would have knocked them out. No Taco Bell. No questions asked. This is a whole double standard. It doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. Anywhere else in the world. And people forget what happened. They don't care what happened now. They're saying it's genocide, all this. So, it's a no-win situation. And propaganda-wise, they're losing. They're losing that war. Right? It's pretty amazing. Because they're showing all this evidence. Why are they losing the war? Because the Arabs are the best at lying. They're the best at giving over propaganda like no tomorrow. Shows. It shows. People say that's a racist thing to say, and it's not. Right? They're out there day in and day out lying, to the masses. What do you think everything's going on in college campuses? Who's giving the college campuses money? Qatar. Billions of dollars. Got their own professors they put in there, spewing hatred. What do you think? That's where it's all going. I'm not even talking about the Ivy League schools. Ivy League schools are, another issue. Anyone want to see where they're holding? Go watch the congressional hearings on anti-Semitism. Just Google it on YouTube. Put it on fast speed, see what these idiots, anti-Semites, total anti-Semites, afraid to say that genocide against another people is forbidden because it's backed by free speech, right? Probably in a week I'll discuss it. I'm not going to have any Q&As next week because of Hanukkah. It's going to interfere with lighting. Week after, I'm probably going to hit it. Probably going to hit it. You got to watch this. I mean, it's insane. Harvard, Penn, and MIT. If you anti-Semite can't say genocide's forbidden, no, it depends on the conduct. What do you mean it depends on the conduct? Depends on the conduct? Depends. It may not lead to that. That's exactly what leads to pogroms. And it leads to Holocaust. That's exactly what it leads to. Freedom of speech. It's exactly what it does. You're not going to condemn it? None of them would condemn it. None of them would condemn it. So you want to, Jewish students are not safe? They're making it not safe for them? Like, yeah, we're trying to protect them, this and that. Insanity. They all should be fighting. Every one of them. Yeah. How far does freedom of speech go? They call for genocide. That's freedom of speech. Only if it leads to something. You got to wait for people to die to say that's wrong and prosecute them? That's insane. They'll say, everyone has to be protected. You're right. Everyone has to be protected. Whites, Chinese, blacks, across the board. Yeah. You're going to call for, genocide against Puerto Ricans, against Asians. Yeah. But you're not going to say, you're going to say that's okay unless it leads to something. That's insanity. That's how far freedom of speech goes, only if it leads to something. No, that's not harassment. That's okay. Saying against Jews is okay. Yeah, hopefully they all lose their jobs. You want education anti-Semitism? Look how they answer this question. Yeah, any other questions? Someone mentioned, yeah, they're making the claim IDF's beheading people, killing people, slaughtering babies. Yeah, come on, it's first thing from the truth. You're right. But they are the biggest liars in the world. People look at face value. Hamas calls in, IDF, shot up one of their missiles hit a hospital, right? They're the ones called it in. You're gonna listen to them, take what they say face value? Everybody did. Till Israel proved that they were lying. Everybody took it what they said at face value. These people have no credibility at all, none. So you're talking about what they, you forget about what they did. You're gonna believe what they say. Come on, the whole world is sucking it up. Yeah. Any other questions? All right. I'm going to stop here. Do this every Saturday, 2 o'clock Eastern time, 9 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, feel free. You can find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com, and at Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Torah portion of the week, Q&As, ethics for our fathers, controversial issues. You want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAMCOFFMAN@gmail.com.